This comes to be a moment when I come on here to do the second part of this series about sewing the fox. As I had to stop the last video before starting this one, I will say that I finally found the spool. It was over here under my thigh where I found it, and after I stopped it, just saw a big string of thread hanging loose near me and decided to kind of follow the strand to find out exactly where the spool had gone, and found it out for myself that it had kind of gotten away here. And so I'd say we got to the point where we've attached the head to the body. I've already sewn a knot through the end of the head and to go through the legs here, and then we've kind of got to take this thing where there's the curve of the legs in the front and the point of the legs in the back, and put this little thing here to make it so it's going to be a little lighter day for us, and see how we're going to take this along here, make it so we can finally put the little thread in, draw it through, and make it so we're going to make the knot come in just like it ought to be. And then it's like there are so many steps to this, so you might want to make little tailor knots to put them in. That's kind of what they call them, because you know how tailors make little knots in clothing sometimes, just to kind of mark the place where they're going to sew it in. That's something that I heard about. So it just so happened that I didn't know about it at the time that I first started doing this with stuffed animals, but that was something my mother mentioned to me when I told her about my creative ideal and thought, and she kind of mentioned that little thing about how the tailors put the knots in the suits, in the collars and the sleeves, to show where they're going to sew it so they don't have to leave marks on the fabric. But that's what I've just done here. Sewed this underside, the front of the underside, to the two front legs, and there's going to be a place over here where I need to make another knot here to sew the other end of the leg right onto the little stuff hole where it's going to be, and make that little line there. And so we're going to get a good knot in place here. And so this is how it is going to be. We made the knot. Now we're going to go to the other side of the fox, and you know, there is a stuff hole on each side of the belly here. So you know, we kind of want it to, even though we're only going to use one or the other, we kind of want it to come out equal on both sides. So we kind of, you know, use one hole to wring it out, and maybe even sometimes two holes to stuff, and we sew two holes closed around there. There's quite a few of my creatures with which the pattern does work that way. So this is how we work along on this. We're making this little knot here, and so that's what that's going to be. I'd say in this little case, one thing we got to do is make this place along the back where the back meets up with the tail. There's a little place where it points to separate. We're going to hold all this together by putting a little needle there and making a little knot there at the top close to the tail. at the back of the body, and then the knot shall come right in, and there we go. There comes a place now where we might even try to place one right below the tail, between the tail and the hind legs. So that's where we make it right here and put the little knot right in, just like that. And so, well, we kind of got it a little loose there. So sometimes I tell you all that the knot in the thread will not always go through the very first time, but we can kind of manage it, handle it, take it to where it's going to be a little thing to take us to where we see a little brighter light come in. I say that this little knot is coming right now. We got the hind legs here, work our way through them, make them so we see a little brighter day in what we do, and tell you all that there's another little knot coming along here. We kind of got to sew along here, make it so that we got the top of one hind leg sewn to the top of the other, connected to the tail, and there's where we make that other little knot there, and then we're going to put it through, and we're going to attach it the other way to the other side as well, make another little knot to go into the other little hind leg to sew it on and put it right in place. You wouldn't think it was necessary to do it in so many places and so many ways, but that's how we manage it here. Think that this, with the thread already on the string, might just kind of sew into the back of the tail here. It isn't necessary to take this step first, but just a stitch or two here, just to kind of get yourself started along this way, making it so you're going to see a little work come along here. And so this is how we got the leg into place. We're going to kind of take it along this little way as well, get us off to a good start, and then make a stitch or two, run it through and run it through, and as we know, we see that little things come and little things go, and we're going to get another line in here to come this way, make it so we can leave another stitch or two to go along in. And so this is how this shall work along, and take it so we see that the little fox is going to be a little work to do. We already kind of got around the legs, so we're going to make the rest of the way go through the tail, and then finally, just finally, we've got such a short little strand left, so we can go ahead here and make the little knot. And then there's something here where, yes, and this time the spool went off into the floor, so we got a little more ways to go here. Kind of like put the thread back on the needle again, make it so it's going to run right in, run right through, and make the little knot so it's going to be a little time and worth and energy, and then try to make other places here where we're going to tie other little knots in to kind of put the legs in with the belly. We got a place here where the hind leg connects to the belly, and we are going to make another little knot there. However, we'll say that the sewing part will have to come later, because if it has to be from the other direction, and if you sew directly from where you are right next to the stuff hole and then you try to turn it out, it's going to come undone. So we're going to have to take it from the other direction before we do that. And then we're going to see something come along here. And then we've got another place here to do where we're going to put another little knot in the thread, make it so it comes along just fine and good and dandy, and then we'll kind of make the knot go right in just like that and see how this does for us. Oh, this little work we do, we come a long ways with it, make it so it's going to be a bright shiny day for us all. Finally, we got those little knots in just as they needed to be. I'd say there's probably a little bit of ways of work to come along here, but I think we can kind of get so far as to get up to about here on the snout, on the chin, and try to make the way about this. And then there's going to be little knots we're going to try to make so we can go a little further up, go a little further down, go a little further along, see how this little bit of time and work and energy can be made into a thing. And oh, how we see a little work as it cometh this way, and so come by and tell me now how we got along to this, and then it's going to come right through the face and the leg, just like that. Think this time we're going to try to go ahead and sew along this little leg. You can kind of do as much of it as the thread will allow. It looks like we got a pretty big strand here, so we can go a long way about it. Sew up to the place where the back of the front leg meets with the belly, up to where the stuff hole is. And I mean, I tell y'all, you just kind of have to have very detailed shape and coordination in your mind to really be able to motorize and learn all of this. As for how it comes along, how it goes, how it's going to work to you, and see, this is just a little ways we work along the piece, making it so we're going to get as far as up to where the back of the leg close to the stuff hole is, and we finally made it there. Now we're going to go the rest of the way back, kind of making a double stitch. Sometimes you do have to kind of sew something twice just to kind of get it in place. Looks like we got a little ravel in the thread here, but we just took care of that, undid that. And so with this little thing, we see a little ways it goes, and sometimes, just sometimes, this little ways of working with the thread is going to take us a little deeper into what we do. I say that oh, like time in our lives, we take this away, see what it's all going to be. Oh gosh, I tell y'all, little good things come this way to us, and when we wait in the midst of them, we see all the good that comes out on the other side. So as of this piece of work, we're doing our way about it. We see how this is making its way along, showing us a little time and work and effort that we see, and then we've got made it back to the chin, and we're going to go over the other leg. Looks like we might have enough thread to almost make it there, but I'm not so sure. We've kind of got to make the way along, see where it goes, and then finally take it right to its very own place. I say this is just little work we do, and oh, the shows we go to, and oh, the looks on the kids' faces when they get these little stuffed animals. Sometimes it's hard to price them cheap because you work so hard to make them, but nonetheless, got my niece's name on them. I call them little Winnie pets because my niece's name is Winnie, and one time I was at a show and a lady saw that tag and her name was Gwen. She thought it was named after her, and I said, well, that's also my niece's name. They're named after my niece. And then her daughter came over there, and she said that to the daughter. She said, look at this. She said, I thought they were named after me, but he says he named them after his niece. Well, that's pretty much how it's happened around here, you know. Always kind of saw the things that different producers and different managers and entrepreneurs have done over the years as far as how they give their names to their products, and that was what it all came down to, you know, calling them little Winnie pets just so that they could just have that certain name, just have a little family member's name in them. And so that was what we got there. We made it up and down the other leg here on this side, the other front leg that is, and we're going to go the rest of the way up to this little nose and put another little line in the chin and make it so we're going to take it up quite to the rest of the way. I say, little work we do, little time we take. Oh, I tell y'all, a lot of times it's just kind of all that we accomplish in life just to make ourselves see a better day, brighter future, and better tomorrows, I say. And by the time we get done here, we're probably not going to do everything in this video, but there's going to be more to show, more to do, more to work on, and I'd say that we've kind of got ways to go a little bit with my school cafeteria job. This is Friday and don't go back till Monday, and I've worked through Tuesday, and then I'll finally be getting myself a summer break and starting in a new cafeteria next year. Now I'd say that for this particular part of the video, we've come along quite a ways, and we're going to stop it right here and then probably move on to the next.